This is the Marvel Legends series, Iron Man Heroes Return. This figure is part of the totally awesome Hulk Build-A-Figure wave. Here's the rest of the assortment. You build the Amadeus Cho totally awesome Hulk. Here's a quick look at the back of the packaging. I mean, Hasbro really needs to step up their posing game. Who's gonna buy these figures if they're just posed mediocre poses? Anyway, I picked this up at my local Toys R Us store for about $29. A lot of collectors have been ignoring this figure. It is the only figure in the wave that does not have a Build-A-Figure piece. It comes 2 per case. I honestly think this is one of the best figures in this wave. Not just because I'm biased, because I'm a big Iron Man fan, but I really think this is the sleeper figure of the wave. If you thought this was just going to be another boring Iron Man figure that Hasbro is just going to use as a cash grab figure, you could not be further from the truth. This is definitely one of the best Iron Man figures that Hasbro's ever put out. It's got great quality. Some of the limbs use the more older molds, sure. But sculpt-wise, the new sculpts that they put on the boots, the gauntlets, the chest, the shoulder pads, and that fantastic head sculpt, you would definitely be missing out on something if you immediately passed up on this figure. I was completely blown away by this one. I mean, I say that a lot, but this is definitely one of the figures to pick up in this wave. Now, if you're not familiar with the Heroes Return storyline, well, it's an old storyline way back in the late 90s, 1998, where the heroes, some of the heroes that were lost after the Onslaught saga, they were trapped in a pocket universe, they come back. And this is one of the ways that Marvel Comics just tries to get more readership. They get to sell more comic books by sort of reinventing the characters, bringing them back to life, and just starting from scratch, it's like a reboot from a lot of the characters. And if you've been reading Marvel Comics for the last 20, 30 years, you'll know that this is a recurring theme. Like every 5 years, they go off and kill a character and just resurrect that character to start a new comic series and a story arc. So this is not uncommon these days. But back in the day, people really felt something. They really felt bad for heroes dying. But nowadays, when you say somebody's going to die in the comic books, you just shrug it off and just laugh at it, because 2 months later, Marvel Comics is just going to resurrect these characters. Anyway, so he does come back, and he comes back to rebuild his empire from the ground up. And based on the design, you can see how accurate this Marvel Legends figure is and how faithful it is to the comic book design. You can see a lot of the details of the neck, the gauntlets, the main armor, the chest, the shoulders, even the boots. They're very, very accurate to how he looked like in the comic books. And that's just very, very amazing, because Hasbro sometimes loves to take liberties and just, create shortcuts here and there and not try to be, they miss out on some of the details. They compromise a lot. But this one actually is a pretty good rendition of the comic book Heroes Return Iron Man. So the figure comes with 2 blast effects pieces, which this is probably the most common blast effects pieces now for Iron Man. So yeah, I wish they could have added some more, but okay. Now the figure has this external piece for his shoulder. And what I do like about this one is it's on a ring around that shoulder joint and will allow you to move it simultaneously as you move the shoulder. So that was one of the main things I was worried about this figure, and I thought that would be the deal breaker had they not addressed this. I thought for a while, because of the photoshopped images for promo pics that they've released, that this shoulder piece was actually connected onto the chest piece. And if you look closely, it does kind of look like it's connected, but I'm glad they separated, because had this been connected to this piece, that would severely hinder articulation, and this one would just be flopping about, and that would be a complete deal breaker for me. You will also notice that he has a fantastic head sculpt. Everything about this head sculpt is too perfect. It's so comic book accurate. They've used great P-naps, great glossy red plastic, which they've used with the rest of the figure. Just a wonderfully painted faceplate, some nice black paint for the eyes and the mouth, metallic gold finish on that faceplate, and that thing really sells this figure. I think this head sculpt probably the best feature of this figure, among other things. Now, the rest of the body, it does recycle a lot of like the hips, the thighs, the biceps, even to a certain extent, maybe the midsection and the hips. They're sort of recycled and repurposed from other Iron Man figures. But they've remolded some of the pieces, like the hands. They've also given him new boots, new feet, and a new torso. They've attached. This one is a separate piece that they've just glued on. And incidentally, I don't show it right now, but he's got 2 open hands and 2 clenched fist hands. The only complaint I have with the hands is probably the open hands, and they've gone back to the static hands, and they've gotten rid of that hinge once again. I mean, they've already included that hinge for these repulsor hands in previous Iron Man figures. I don't understand why they have to go back to the non-hinge and just a swivel splayed hand, which is that's just annoying at this point. P-naps are great. Plastic quality, just amazing. Articulation for the figure. He's got a ball joint neck that is on a hinge. You've got a ab crunch right here. It's on a ratchet. You got a waist swivel. Shoulders allow the arms to go in and out, forward and backward 360. You got a bicep swivel, double hinged elbow. Unfortunately, this still uses the one with the pins. You got a ball jointed hip. You do the splits, forward and backward. You got thigh swivel, double hinged knees. You got a boot cut or a calf swivel. Feet can go up and down on a hinge, and you've got the rocker tilt. Head to toe, the figure stands at about 17.5 centimeters tall, or about 6 3/4 inches tall. The figure is actually pretty tall, and for comparisons, here he is with other Iron Man figures in my collection. We've got the 80 years anniversary of Marvel Comics Iron Man. From the Puff Adder Build-A-Figure wave, we've got the Extremis Armor Iron Man. And from the Controller wave, we've got the Model 70 Alex Ross Iron Man. And you can clearly see he's about 2 millimeters taller than all of the other Iron Man figures, and he just looks terrific together with these guys. Obviously, the 80 years is still going to be my favorite. I love a classic. He's going to come in second and a close third. These two are tied for close third. Now, if you're curious as to whether we can do a head swap with the Tony Stark head from the 80 years Iron Man, it's a little tight. The hole on that head sculpt is just a little bit too tight, but it is possible. So you can have Tony Stark's head on this Iron Man buck, and it actually looks pretty cool. And so some final thoughts on this Heroes Return Iron Man. Man, I love this figure. I'm so glad I picked it up. Do yourself a favor and pick this figure up. If you're a big fan of the Marvel Legends Iron Man figures, you are going to love this figure. I guarantee you are in for a treat. This is the sleeper figure in the wave. Definitely one of the best Iron Man figures in the Marvel Legends line so far. This figure is going to get a 9.5 out of 10. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this Marvel Legends series Heroes Return Iron Man from the Totally Awesome Hulk Build-A-Figure wave. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. Thanks for watching.